All right, let's go here. Dr. Maury, Uncivilized Vitality, and this is a video about some rope basics. All right, so basics of Ropecraft. So we're in kind of the cluttered UV room. You can come on in here and I'll just use the table here. So this is just a fast rope. We have them lots of different colors. This is an older one. And this is one of the contraptions we take for practice fast ropes on events. It's usually with a carabiner. It's always nice to have a carabiner. It's just a locking gate carabiner. With your fast rope. So these are the really bright colored ones that we loan out to, like on the 101 or on different events. People don't have fast ropes. We used to use the smaller diameter Paramax in bright orange, but then a lot of people like to use their personal fast ropes in bright orange because it's highly visible. So I chose a really garish color that would be unlikely to be chosen by anybody of sane mind, but let's not dwell on that. So, and this one's a little bit bigger. I think this is the quarter and the 5/8. I don't remember. So let's let's look on the table here and we'll talk about some basic parts of a rope. So it's just a fast rope. And this would apply to different types of laid ropes or kern mantle ropes or paracord or twine or anything. So basically you have a few parts of the rope so you can understand and use the same terminology. It'll make watching knot videos or Uncivilized Vitality Ropecraft videos, like the little ones that Shane does, the little shorts on the YouTube from our meetings, or the uses of ropes out in the field. If you understand the terminology, it'll be a little easier. So let's say I've got, I'm going to just twist this rope up into a coil. All right, so I've got this coiled, and there's lots of ways to house your rope. So if we look down on the table, we've got a couple of parts. And if I were going to put work here and do, say, a loop here in the middle, I'd have two ends of the ropes, one to either side. The end that goes toward the coil or toward the bulk of the rope that's not doing any work is called the standing end or the non-working end. And the end that is free or is moving around, like for instance, if I were to hitch and just put this clove hitch over this bar, right? Now I've got two ends of this rope. That's a simple hitch, clove hitch. I've got this free end or working end, sometimes called a tag end, that moves around. I like to say I go back and forth between working, tag, or free end. And the part that is toward the coil of rope or the bulk of the rope, you just would refer to that as your non-working or standing end, right? That way, when you're doing some sort of maneuver with the rope, you can refer to this instead of right and left. You can say, take the standing end and the free end, take the free end around behind the standing end, and then under itself, you get an overhand knot, right? Let's see, knots, binds, loops, hitches, right? Bends. Those are all specific types of knots. A knot is a maneuver with the rope at the end of the rope, typically toward the end. And this is a knot. This is usually called a stopper knot, but knot is usually toward the end. If it were in the middle of the rope, I did something that would be a midline knot. If I tie two ropes together, that's a bend. If I tie the rope, I hitch it to, or I tie it to something immobile, like this bar, that's a hitch, right? If I use the rope to secure something, like I rolled up a bedroll, that would be a bind, right? Like I'm binding. Anyway, so that terminology we're going to talk about later, but let's just talk about the rope. So here we have the standing end toward the coil or the majority of the rope, and the free or working end that I do things with. Now, if I form a bend in the rope where the working end is going to run back parallel to the standing end, or any kind of bend in the rope, this is called a bite, right? Not bite like B-I-T-E, but B-I-G-H-T, a bite, right? That's a bite when they're parallel. If this free end were to bite back and then cross the standing end, I should do that on the table maybe. Now I've made a loop. Okay, now I've made a loop. Since this loop is not secured to the standing end with the free end, it's an open loop, right? If I were to tie, say, an overhand knot around this, or hitch the free end onto the standing end, now I've made a closed loop. So I have an open loop and a closed loop. Another way to distinguish loops are an overhand loop and an underhand loop. Now you can think of this as in front of the standing end, like this is an overhand loop. Or if I were to take my bite and run that behind or under my standing end, then I'd have an underhand loop. And there's lots of different ways, different terminology that people use, right, when they do this. Like I can form an overhand loop by taking my bite and just giving my rope a twist. Now I've made an overhand loop, right? I can take the bite and twist it toward me the other way, and now I've made an underhand loop because you can see my free end runs behind that standing end, right? So those are some different bits of terminology you'll need to bend or bind or tie or put some ropes together, which is the standing end, which is the free or working end, the difference between a bite and a loop, an overhand loop and an underhand loop, a closed loop and an open loop. So let's use that. Well, you know what? Instead of binding another rope together, let's talk about one more thing that needs to be distinguished. I think I've talked about this before. The difference between a completed knot or bend or bind or whatever you're doing and a slipped knot. So if I were to make an overhand loop, okay, so my free end is here, it's laid over top of my standing end. And if I were to pass that tag end through that loop and pull and close the knot or dress the knot, like clean up all the folds, right? Or all the runs of the rope. And then there's another bit of terminology. So this is called a turn, right? You can do a half turn where I just go behind to make a loop. But if I were to go all the way around, now I've made a complete turn or a full turn, also called a throw. So you get two turns in a throw. I know this is starting to get more complicated than I meant. So back to this basic closed overhand knot, okay? So this is a full overhand knot, it's closed. Now instead of running my free end all the way through that loop to make that closed overhand knot, I could have run my free end through and then back out of the knot so that what's coming through is not the free end, but a bite of the free ended rope. See how that bite crosses through that loop? Now I can close that knot down and I have, if you look into this little mess, I still have that overhand knot right there, right? That overhand knot. But now instead of having the tag end all the way through, I've slipped it through, which basically means sending a bite of rope through instead of the free end. The advantages of a slip knot is they don't collapse or harden up so much, and I can just pull that free or tag end and it'll help open that knot or collapse that back up. Okay? So we can use that in a couple different ways. Here's a very familiar knot. I make an overhand loop. Right? I'm going to hold that at the overhand. I take the free end, I come up through from the bottom of that loop. I go around behind the standing end, and then I run my free end back through that loop. So essentially I've made a slipped overhand knot, but my bite goes around the standing end. And now when I pull that tight, I've made one of the most familiar knots to everyone, the bowline. Okay? The bowline's a great knot. It forms a closed loop at the end of a rope, and it can be used for so many different things. It's not a slipped knot because I did pass the bite all the way back through the loop, or all the way through the loop around this. It's kind of a slip knot in the sense that only a bite went through, but it is secured around the standing end. Good thing about the bowline is no matter how much pressure it's under afterwards, you can break that knot or bend that and loosen it back up. Okay? So the bowline's a great knot. Another knot that's a great knot is I make this closed loop or open loop and go through to make the overhand. But instead of going through, I continue for a full turn around the standing end and then go through. And as I pull that knot, dress that down, it makes a figure of 8. A couple of turns there around that standing end makes a figure of 8. Also a great knot because you can bend it and open it back up. So a couple things at the end of the rope. When I get this loop, and instead of making an overhand knot, I just want to slip a bite of my tag end through, I've formed essentially a slip knot, okay? A slipped knot. Now I can put that loop around something, pull the tag end down, and kind of fasten it, but the slip knot will come back out pretty easily. If I make that overhand loop, I've got that loop, but instead of a bite of the free end coming through, I take a bite of the standing end and push it through. It looks almost the same, and it moves up and down, right? Let me take the other end and show you. Okay. So on this side, I will run a bite of the free end through, and you'll see that these knots look almost the same. Now, they're essentially the same, indistinguishable, but it's very important to know the difference and be able to tell the difference. In the knot in my right hand, the tag end is what was pulled through as a bite, and the knot slides up and down on the free end of the rope. Put that away. On the free end of the rope. Okay? And this, if I pull that tag end all the way through, because the knot is slipped, you can see that that knot will collapse and come out. On the other end of the rope, I pulled a bite of the standing end through that loop. And now I've made what's called a simple noose. Okay? The noose is different than the slipped knot because no matter how hard I pull on the tag end, that knot will not collapse or come out. I have to pull the free end, or sorry, the standing end through to take that knot apart. This noose can get caught up on things and not be able to collapse. So a simple noose is used a lot in snares. A noose is made by slipping a bite of the standing end through the overhand loop, and a slipped knot is made by slipping a bite of the free end through. All right, so I think that's enough to confuse everybody for a little while. So get you, don't trip over the boxes. Get a fast rope or some cordage. This large Paramax that you can get at Paracord Planet, by the way, is like a super robust paracord. But even regular paracord is good to practice tying knots in. It comes in a variety of colors. If you go to Paracord Planet, they have, I want to say they have over 900 different colors that you can choose from for various projects. But get a piece of cord, start practicing the terminology in your head when you're tying a knot or a bend or a bite or a loop or a hitch. Right, standing end, free end. From my perspective, underhand loop, overhand loop. If I tie that all the way around with a full throw, now I've got a closed loop. Now I've made a slipped running noose, which is slightly different than the other knots we tied. And then you can get at Ashley's Book of Knots and start learning the 3,600 or so basic knots that are applicable to fieldcraft and rock climbing, and arborists use them in the trees, and even surgeons use several different specific knots. Sailors, rock climbing, Boy Scouts, outdoor pursuits like the UV does mostly. But get a rope, especially your fast rope when you're bored. Sit around practicing tying all your basic knots. In our handbook, there are about 48 basic knots, about 24 basic knots you have to get your knot bead. And you need to be familiar with the terminology and understand that sometimes when people say slipped knot, what they really mean is a simple noose, or people say knot when they mean a bend when they're tying two ropes together. It takes a little bit of getting used to. This is not definitive by any means, but it should get you started on some of the terminology we use in our other videos with the Ropecraft. So that's it. If you like knots and Ropecraft as much as I do, leave a comment below. And any knots that you can't find on our channel, or if you'd like to see them again, let us know and we'll get working on those. In the meantime, check out, we've got quite a few shorts on YouTube about knots that Shane does at each monthly meeting. So we do knot of the month. All right, that's it. Oh, buy me a coffee, especially if you like ropes. I don't know why the two are connected, but I'm supposed to remind you to buy me a coffee. That helps out the channel. And leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, share. We are getting close to 7,000 subscribers. So if you could share the channel and encourage some others to subscribe to the channel, that would help out quite a bit. And I think that's it.